I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:01 p.m. Our land acknowledgement statement. We, the Municipality of Red Lake, acknowledge that our foundation and the spaces in which we live and maintain are on the unceded lands of the Anishinaabeg of Red Lake, the traditional lands of Lac Seul and Wabauskang First Nations, and Treaty 3 territory. As we are all treaty people, we will continue to cherish our reciprocity of all of our relationships on these sacred lands and waters. Anyone present may not video or audio and or leave any cell phone on without permission. I'd like to do the disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof for the agenda of this meeting and for the minutes of meeting which a member was not in attendance. Seeing none, we have no delegations or deputations. Minutes of the previous meeting, none. Administrative reports from the CAO. Update on the projects, initiatives, for discussions.
Perfect, thank you. I figured that it would be a good opportunity for us to go over the many projects and initiatives we have, whether they're pending or they're approved or they're active. So right now we have 22 projects and applications. And that equates to $34,218,000. So I guess a point to this is we're trying to kick every tire out there looking for funding opportunities to advance our community, advance sustainable value within our community as well. So of those 22 applications, 10 are pending, so that means they're in the system and they're being evaluated. An example of that would be the community off-leash dog park, where we've submitted applications to NOHFC in Fednor. There's approved projects, like ICIP would be one, but there's a total of 8 projects that are approved. So that could be like the modernization funding to look at, like the landfill, the transfer site. Those are examples. So those approved projects are just shy of $6 million. So that's money that provincial and federal money that we've obtained. None of these numbers include the airport and ACAP. We know that there's been a lot of success stories in obtaining funding there. And again, through the Thunder Bay Airport Authority, Wayne Riddell does an exceptional job at the airport. We have 4 projects that we're developing applications or we're on standby. One is, again, there's another intake for the municipal modernization planning, and we're looking at, this is something we'll bring in a more formal manner to council, is to do a fire department review. And that's something we've talked about some time ago. We did do a review in the fire department, I want to say 6 years ago, but it was an internal review. And I think it's important this time around that we obtain a consultant to do a review for us. Of course, consult all the appropriate stakeholders. Highway commercial is another one, and I say that because we've recently sold the developed property at Highway Commercial between Tim Hortons and the Super 8. So now, with a potential development on a property not municipally owned, it could open up some additional commercial land owned by the municipality within the highway commercial corridor. So once again, we'd be looking at the NOHFCs and Fednors for funding to advance that. Another one would be the REACH, would be an arena. So we've submitted an application through the Green Initiative We're still waiting word on that. That application was submitted, I believe, in early July of this year. We're hoping to hear something this fall. Again, don't know from a timing perspective how that's going to work with the recent election, but we're hopeful we'll hear something and hopefully hear something positive this fall. But in saying that, as we've stumbled a little bit, not by our own doing, but stumbled in the sense of obtaining money for the greater, our greater goal of having a REACH facility, that perhaps we could start looking at other options on a standalone arena, other options aside from that green initiative. We'll see where that lands, but options of NOHC, where does Fendor land, what other programs are out there, and perhaps our treasurer can provide a bit of an update on where we're at financially, and we're going to look to the Treasury Department with the assistance of some department head to look at some alternatives for whether it's financing or funding. So what are other communities doing out there, and let's look a little broader and a little bit more strategic. Maybe there is an opportunity, but I don't know. Trilby, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, so I know in talking with Mark, one of the big commitments of this council was to pay down $4 million of debt over your term. So at the start of your term, the municipality held $19.1 million. By the end of 2021, we're going to be on track to pay down $3 million, leaving with a balance of about 15.1, which is fantastic. Based on current repayment rates, it is possible that you'll actually exceed your $4 million goal. So that's great. And speaking with Mark on looking at some different options. So we have a debt limit that's based on repayment rates. I don't have the exact number of what the debt limit is, because it's based on the 2020 FIR, which is getting finalized next week. But there is room. I would comfortably could say you could probably double your debt and still be within that limit. But with that, as Mark mentioned, we'll look at some alternatives. Maybe the debt just sits on the municipality's books, but look for other ways to fund it rather than going to the ratepayers for it.
Thank you. So again, that's just a brief overview. Open it up to any comments or questions from council, and again, a lot of these projects generated from our committees. They've come from you, from direction from mayor and council. But once we get an idea, then it immediately goes to Brenda Juniak, and the community development communications manager, and then she'll team up with a particular department head who a certain initiative would fall under. Like for instance, like maybe the basketball nets. She collaborated with Michelle Lamonte and also I believe Darren Bosch at the high school. So once an idea comes, we immediately put on our strategic hats and look at ways on gathering that information and putting the best application forward. So, but again, I open it up for any questions, comments, etc.
Councillor here.
Okay, so when you said with regards to tracking our grants, and you mentioned the one about the basketball nets, which I think is amazing. Like the Heritage Center, they're applying for probably $1.5 million almost worth of funding. So do we have like a main database where we keep track of everything that any municipally related committee is getting, if they're getting money?
We don't formally track it, but I think that's a great idea, and we'll task staff to do that. I mean, we're always like we work hand in hand, like the airport example. Mm-hmm. Work hand in hand and really know and understand what they're applying for and for what. There's that communication, but we don't formally track that. We certainly can. we'll make note of that.
Or just have, yeah, somewhere where we can see, because I think that as a community, we are getting, you know, we've had some great opportunities. And I know you mentioned Darren Bosch, and Darren is applying right now for a lot of different funding for greenhouse and community gardening. So I just think it'd be great if we sort of, you know, like when you gave me that figure, or gave us that figure of 34, that's impressive. 34 million.
And we certainly like to encourage all community groups, if it's an initiative to improve our community, community, if there's a way we can help, like looking at programs. There's so many programs out there, but so yeah, any organization, even, you know, if it's a way to improve our, you know, our health and well-being and some of our infrastructure, we'd be more than willing to help out.
Any more questions? Thank you very much. It was very informative. The next one is the Red Lake ICIP project.
Thank you. Just wanted to provide an update on the project. If you've had an opportunity here recently to drive around Red Lake, you can see that it looks pretty amazing. There's two streets that, or two sections that we're still working on with the paving. And again, this is under the ICIP, the Red Lake Roads project. We're working on that Sinite, I think it's Sinite Street, or Sinite Street in Red Lake. We'll be finishing that up at Pioneers in Town, the paving company. We're also working on Stove Street near the Lutheran Church. Now that we're doing a little extra here, similar to what we did near the Ukrainian church, where there was some drainage problems and some washout. So we're working towards rectifying that problem at the Lutheran Church, because the water comes from the top steps of the church and just has been coming down, washing gravel away, etc. So we're going to clean that up. That will look really nice. Other things we're doing driveway tie-ins. So if you drive around, you'll see there's sections between, you know, our curbing and our entrances to the person's driveway. So we do, in most cases, like 4 to 6 feet, sometimes even more, depending on the driveway itself. So driveway aprons tie into the new streets, and I believe we should have started this afternoon. We'll complete the grass hydro seeding, and that will be predominantly. We'll be finishing up the north side of Highway 618. There is one section near along Wapitchee and Pine, that near the Block G area. There's an area there that we need to do some hydro seeding as well. So again, this project, you know, overall project, including the work we've done on Storm, is 5.6, just over $5.6 million. We've received ICIP money of almost 4.6. We've utilized OSIF funding in the amount of almost $770,000. So this is a significant project, 4.4 kilometers of roadway, and you know, with that was all the storm drainage that we've improved. 2.3 kilometers of new sidewalks, rehabilitated about 500 meters of sidewalks. So it's raised the bar for Red Lake, for our municipality. It really looks good, and I commend our staff, particularly Todd Olson, on all of his hard work, long hours. So I commend him and others who have contributed to the success of this project. It hasn't been easy for some, but you know, we're at the finish line now, and we should be proud of the efforts. The other, we will be, with Pioneer in Town, we will be addressing the Madison entrance this week. Our crew is doing some prep work now. I don't know exactly what day Pioneer will be in Madsen, but I believe it will be this week. We'll also address the McManus area. We won't get at all the patching, but the primary ones we want to get are the Madsen entrance, the McManus area that was slated for last year, it was carried over to this year, and then this this piece off of Dexter and it would be 6th Street. There's a section that we dug up, so we'll be addressing that. And anything else we can get, we'll try to get at. But we've been fortunate with some decent weather here recently, so things are looking good. But, so I open it up to any comments or questions from anyone.
Just one comment from myself. The job looks excellent. I took a drive the other day. It's amazing how much it's beautified the area. It's very very impressive. One question I do have is, was this signage part of the project, like new signs for streets, or are we?
No.
Okay.
No.
So it's something we should look into the future. There are a number of streets that were actually missing signs. So it's something we can look forward to, maybe some funding for that as well. Anybody else, questions or comments? Mayor Moto.
Thank you. No, I agree, Councillor Butterfield, and there's some of those signs out there that are quite faded as well too. The ones out there are hard to read anything, especially if you got a cataract in your eye. So, that being said, it's been a long process of 2 years of getting to the point where we're at, and as the CAO elaborated the fact that we're close to the finish line here. The community looks beautiful, but those new curbs, sidewalks, lots of positive comments from people who are using those roadways and sidewalks, and they thank the municipality very much for that. We still have a few aches and pains to get through, but we'll manage through that. And I once again, echoing the statement of the CAO, I'd like to thank Todd Olson and his crew for all of the hard work getting through these difficult times that we've had in the past, but it's paying off at the end for Red Lake. So thanks very much to Public Works and all the staff there as well too.
Thank you.
So if you have no further items on the agenda, we can move right to adjournment.
Okay. So moved by Councillor Baruch, seconded by Councillor Christoph. Resolved that the Committee of the Whole hereby adjourns to meet again at the call of the chair. All in favor?